sponsored by Our Home magazine on newsstands now.
The new September-October issue of Our Home magazine looks at the different approaches local homeowners have taken when restoring their historic homes. Managing editor Jessica Ronke-Haddad joins us with a sneak peek at a few of the homes featured. Welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thanks.
We're always glad to have you here because we get to see such amazing things. All right, so I had an old house in the fan. It was from the 1920s, but we're going way past that.
Yeah, going back
Yeah.
before that. There are a lot of houses in Richmond built kind of turn of the century up to the 20s.
Yes.
But these houses are all older, in one case significantly older.
All right. Okay, well, let's start with the one I want to, from the White Plains Farm from the 1840s. Now, federal style, I'm pretty familiar with, and we're seeing it now, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
It is. This is the wrong house, actually.
That's the wrong house? Okay, well, anyway, which one is that?
This is a cottage, I think it's 1865, in Woodland Heights. That was restored by two architects who practice in Richmond. And it's a really interesting house because it's very, classic cottage, traditional on the outside, and the front part was restored to its original state. But then they were able to take a more modern approach with the rest of the house.
So if you've got a house in a neighborhood, or you're in a neighborhood, and the house down at the end of the block is old and it's fallen down, and you find out two architects bought it, things are going to
You're pretty excited.
Yeah, things are going to go well from that point
Exactly.
on. So they really turned this thing around and brought it back.
And it's very unexpected because they did sort of combine old and new, and it's historic and traditional and modern at the same time, and it really works.
Okay. All right, now I think we get up the one from the White Plains Farm, which is in Hanover County.
Yes, and this house is owned by Chris and Ashley Peace, and Chris is actually a delegate in the Virginia House of Representatives, represents Hanover County. They both grew up there. They found this property and they fell in love with it. It's in a very remote part of Hanover County, kind of near New Kent. But it was built in the 1840s and it needed a tremendous amount of work. So they put a lot of time and money into repairing termite damage, water damage, all of those things that are not very glamorous or fun, but have really brought this house back to life. And in 2013, they won an award for preserving it.
We all watch those shows on TV where they go into a house and they start to dig around a little bit and they find the plumbing's bad or the electric hasn't been updated or it's termite, and those are the kind of problems you don't want to find.
Right.
But if you're buying a house from the 1800s,
you're going to find them.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot.
You
of
have
that.
to know what you're getting into
Yeah.
and be prepared to do that and really respect the history of the house and want to do it, not just to create a home, but to preserve that for future generations.
And you folks do such a beautiful, I do mean gorgeous job with your photographs. We've talked before about your photographers bring back these images that just knock your eyes out, and it's always fun to kind of take a look in somebody else's world. I understand we don't have pictures of the last house we're going to talk about. It's a 1700s New England salt box.
Yes, and it's very unusual for Richmond. It actually is a house.
I don't even know what that means, a New England salt box.
So it's a very common style in New England, and usually, from the front it kind of looks like your average colonial, 2 stories, very austere, plain, but then the roof has a very steep pitch in the back. So the back of the house, it goes down to 1 story, and often the 1-story room in the back, traditionally I think is called a keeping room, and it was sort of like kitchen storage space.
Is the steep roof because it's New England? They got to get the snow off, something like that.
Yes, that helps for it to just slide off.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And so somebody brought that to Virginia, brought that style to Virginia.
Yeah, in the 60s, they actually moved this house from Holyoke, Massachusetts.
They moved the house?
They moved the house, a very historic house. It's the Captain Morgan house. So it was like J.P. Morgan's, I think, grandfather or someone in his family.
Captain Morgan, the rum.
Not the rum, I don't think
Morgan.
so, but a different Morgan. But this builder moved it to Salisbury, which is kind of unexpected. And he put it all back together. It was in great shape for years, and then recently fell into disrepair. So an artist in town, Lee Baskerville, bought it about a year ago, and he spent the past year trying to bring it back to its original state.
Can't wait to see it. And you can find the September-October issue of Our Home on newsstands or subscribe online on richmondmagazine.com/home.